All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you see something evaporating here, that's my tea from earlier that I just nuked. So I don't have an experiment going here. That's just the tea. I think this is the first time I've ever had that happen during a stream. So tonight we're going to talk about, well, not we. I am going to talk about the signs and symptoms of dementia. I, in terms of where this stream came from, I always like to give backgrounds to where the streams came from. I did create a short about 2 to 3 weeks ago involving Wendy Williams, talk show host Wendy Williams. And I was having dinner with a friend of mine from work on a Friday night, and I don't really keep up with celebrities and celebrity business and celebrity gossip. And but my friend told me, yeah, Wendy Williams has developed dementia. Okay, so that I ran home afterwards. I looked it up and I said, oh wow, yeah, she's developed dementia. I haven't really watched Wendy Williams recently, even before she um, developed this condition. But there was a stretch where I was um, involved with someone who was watching Wendy Williams regularly. And of course, when you're involved with someone who's watching something, you end up watching it as well. So I know the how you doing. I was practicing that earlier. How you doing? That's Wendy Williams' thing. Anyway, let me share this over on my original channel, and then I will start. Hopefully, I can go for less than an hour. I always say I'm going to go for less than an hour, and it ends up being a little bit over once you get in a rhythm and you guys start commenting. It's hard to once you get in a rhythm and you guys and gals start commenting, it's hard to stop. All right, let me see. Please smash that like button. Also, let me know who's here. These live streams are always more fun when they're interactive, and I always appreciate the comments and the feedback you all give while I am in the stream. Let me see here. Yep, I can see myself there. Yeah, please let me know who's there. Let me know if you have any comments for this. And there's a second reason I'm doing this, and that's that, well, most of us are going to be faced with this at some point, whether it's a close relative developing this condition, or I hate to say it, one of us develops this later on in life. So this is something that if you're blessed with old age, if you're blessed to make it into your seasoned years, you're likely either going to know someone who's developed this condition, or unfortunately you may develop it yourself. So I hope this stream isn't depressing in any way, but it's something that came along at this time. Let me just leave this note here. Okay, so that's shared over there. So let me go back to my channel. Yeah, I'm doing this on a Tuesday night. Football season is Michigan football is currently well, we won the national championship, so there's no football right now. So I can do things during the week here, and I won't be able to do anything on Saturday morning. All right, let me go back to my channel. I will play the intro, and then I will jump in, and we're going to learn about the signs and symptoms of dementia. Okay, after I play my intro here, I will jump in. Turn my speaker on.
So, Amar, I see you have the periodic tables on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's that all about? Why are you walking around with a chemistry chart on your chest?
Well,
Help me out.
Cheryl, so this channel is a STEM channel. So when I was conceiving of it and figuring out how to grow it, I figured I should have some t-shirts to go with it. So
Okay.
the periodic table is critical to most of the
Okay.
scientific fields. Welcome to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Science and technology are all around us all of the time, and there are always science and technology stories to tell. There are always science and technology stories to tell. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. If there's anyone here who was over on my original channel last night, and you're here, I appreciate you for being here. Tonight over here, well, I always talk about science and technology related topics over here. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And let me just load these three pictures up and I will jump in. Yeah, so why dementia? Why talk about the signs and symptoms of dementia, Dr. Dunbar? What's your interest in that? Before I go on, if anyone wants to, if something is said tonight that so moves you and you want to donate something to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are here. I don't have AdSense or a super chat over on this channel. So what was my motivation for this? So as I described before I played the intro, a couple of weeks ago, I learned, and I don't keep up with celebrity gossip and celebrity happenings and who's got what and who's doing what. Other channels do that, and I honestly don't have an interest in all of these things. But a friend, a close friend, a close, not close, a close friend. I gotta get all my enunciation perfect. A close friend shared with me that talk show host Wendy Williams. That's a picture of Wendy right there. Let me scroll up to the title and I'll scroll back to this picture of her. Wendy Williams diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontal temporal dementia. Okay. So that was surprising for me to hear because me and my friend also talked about Wendy Williams' age. She's not 60 yet. She's in her late 50s. And when I looked up frontal temporal dementia and aphasia online, it said that this is something people in their 60s could get. So she's still a little on the young side to get this. I guess Bruce Willis. There's Wendy right there. There's a picture of her. Fair use YouTube. I hope that this does not trigger a copyright claim. I've never seen this footage before, but apparently she they did a reality show highlighting her with this condition, and I think some of it was disturbing, but that's footage of her right there. Her eyes look noticeably bigger. Bruce Willis, I think he has this as well. So when the bottom line is Wendy Williams has this, so that was big news. So that's part of where my interest on this came from. I'm not going to leave this article below for this stream. YouTube, if they think that your articles are spam, they will poach out those links from your description box. But I'll drop the link right here in the chat in case anyone wants to read some more about this. That was kind of a big deal because, well, Wendy Williams also had her detractors, okay, because some people felt that she made her living and she got famous celebrating and making light of the hardship of other celebrities. So some people kind of some people looked at this and said, well, okay, well, she got what she deserved. I just saw myself freeze there. Some people look at what's happened to her and they felt like, okay, well, she's gotten what she deserves. I don't feel that way. I wouldn't wish sickness on anybody, in illness or any kind of hardship on anybody. So I'm not looking at that in that way. I think it's unfortunate. Um, but her catching that, is her acquiring that or developing that, is a big deal. So, and her big thing was, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Everybody was doing that 10 years ago when she was at her apex. How you doing? That was her big greeting. So anyway, so that was one of my motivations for doing this. Now the other one, I'll just say that I have a personal interest in this, and in my personal circle, I'll just leave it vague and say I have a personal interest in dementia at this time. Um, I don't know, those of you who are watching this live or on the playback, if you know somebody in your family who has developed dementia or Alzheimer's disease. A lot of us do know someone who's developed one or two of those, and actually, as well as I'll describe, as I'll read, dementia is actually an umbrella term. But all of us, if we make it past a certain age, even those of us in Generation X and the millennials and those after them, one of us might develop it. So I thought that, and so in my family circle, the question came up, or another relative said, Anwar, you need to familiarize yourself with the symptoms of this so that you know what you're looking at, if in case this particular relative has developed this. Okay, so I'm trying to keep this vague, but that's my interest in it. The Wendy Williams story and something in my own personal world. Aquateki, thank you for being here. Aquateki, always a pleasure to see you show up in the chat. I think the Master Teacher stream ended. I don't know if you were over there, but I appreciate you coming through. He says, greetings, Dr. Dunbar. My grandmother passed away from dementia back in 2007. She was in her early 80s. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to jump in. I don't want to be on all night. I have to go in the morning and make the donuts from my 9 to 5. So what do I know about neuroscience and how the brain works? And I'm going to be very, very brief here. It's a science channel, so we should always learn something. So even though I have a main topic, I think it's good to give the audience some basics here. So many of you know AB Media. Thank you for stopping through, sir. Salute to you. I see you had a political discussion of yourself, you had a political discussion of your own last night, and I know this is the night Art New Stall goes live. So you guys normally put me to bed on Tuesday nights. All right. So what does Dr. Dunbar know about neuroscience and the brain and neuropharmacology? Well, my background is in pharmacology. I have a degree in pharmacology from the University of Michigan. Okay, most of you all know that. That's the logo of the Department of Pharmacology. This is the medical school there. I love showing this picture. That's a beautiful picture of the medical school. It looks like that's in the fall. The leaves are changing colors. So pharmacology, I think you all know this ad nauseum. Is that the right term? You guys probably know this cold turkey by now if you've been watching me. Pharmacology is the study of drugs, how drugs work, how the medications work, their mechanisms, their clearance, their absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. And there are different kinds of pharmacology. There's cancer pharmacology, there's cardiovascular pharmacology, there's neuropharmacology. There are antimicrobial drugs. There are all kinds of drugs. But in my curriculum, we had to take a neuropharmacology class. So we had to study the brain. I'm gonna show this picture really, really quickly, and then I'm gonna come back to it because this is important. So we had to learn about the brain, the central nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system. And so one of the things that we had to, when you're learning about the brain and the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, you're learning about neurons, because neurons are the primary cells of the brain, the central nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system. So each tissue in our body has a unique cell type, and for the nervous system, those cell types are the neurons, and those are unique in that you have a cell body and you have an axon um, surrounded by myelin sheaths. Okay, and then you have synaptic end bulbs. Okay, and so your brain is, to make a long story short, I've talked about this ad nauseum here. Your brain is made up of a complex network of neurons. There's a presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, and they're all arranged in synapses. I'm not going to get into all that tonight, but your brain is also composed. It's arranged in multiple regions, and those regions have multiple functions. So we're going to go over this briefly. So the frontal lobe, that dictates motor control, problem solving, speech production. The temporal lobe, that that's responsible for auditory processing, language comprehension, memory / information retrieval. The brainstem, involuntary responses. The parietal lobe, touch perception, body orientation, and sensory discrimination. And the occipital lobe, sight, visual reception, and visual interpretation. And then the cerebellum, that's responsible for balance and coordination. So if you experience damage to any one region of the brain, you're going to see those particular functions compromised. Okay, that's a little bit of neurophysiology 101. Please smash the like button if you haven't. Now, we're going to get into the symptoms, the signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia. But I want to show you all one other thing. Okay, so this is a normal, healthy neuron. Everybody, please keep sounding off there in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. This is a normal, healthy neuron. Okay, and when you have certain diseases like the ones that I'm going to talk about tonight, you have something called the formation of a Lewy body in those brain cells. Okay, and those Lewy bodies typically signify the onset of diseases and conditions like dementia and Alzheimer's. All right, so you want to think about Lewy bodies. You want to think about plaques forming in the tissues in the cells of your brain. Here's I believe this is an electron microscope image of a Lewy body. Okay, or a cross section. Okay, so these little processes, they start forming inside the brain, and that typically coincides with the onset of these diseases. In much the same way, there are microcellular alterations when football players develop CTE. I don't know if any of you saw the concussion movie with Will Smith, but similar thing. Process little abnormalities, microscopic abnormalities form in the brain when these diseases come when they onset. All right, T. Riddler is here. T. Riddler, thank you for being here. All right. Toya the tutor, or Toya with the apple, she's here as well. Toya, thank you for being here. I don't know what that just did is, but I think that means you just hit the like button. I appreciate that. All right, so a Lewy body, and I'm gonna sprint through this really, really quickly, because as a scientist, you're always wondering why, and you're always wondering, okay, well, what is in that makes that unique? So what is in a Lewy body? Okay, a Lewy body I'm going to sprint through this really, really quickly. Lewy bodies are round, reddish inclusions inside the body of the nerve cell and composed of an abnormally folded and aggregated protein called alpha synuclein. Okay. So it's that's what's in those little bodies that are forming inside the neurons. Okay, I'm going to read that one more time because there's something there that I think you all need to know in the general public. Lewy bodies are round, reddish inclusions inside the body of the nerve cell and composed of an abnormally folded and aggregated protein called alpha synuclein. Okay, so I don't think I have a picture of one here. I'm going to be brief here, but I need to show this. It said a misfolded protein. The alpha-synuclein is a misfolded protein. So what you all need to know, if you don't know, is that in addition to these organelles that we typically think of inside our animal cells, we humans, we are animals, we are part of the animal kingdom. In addition to the organelles we typically think of, the mitochondria, the nucleus, vacuoles, ribosomes, centromeres, microtubules, lysosomes, rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. There are also molecular chaperones. Okay, and molecular chaperones. This is part of what my graduate advisor and another scientist at Michigan worked on. I think I contributed to some of that work too. Molecular chaperones are in our cells, and they help make sure that proteins are properly folded. Okay, they're properly folded, and they're in their proper conformation. You know what? I'm on a roll here. Let me show you what this means. Let me see. I see 2 comments there. I'm going to get to those comments. I appreciate those comments. So let me just find a nice picture for you guys. Where's my protein structure? All right, here, protein structures. Please smash that like button if you haven't. So all proteins, enzymes, receptors, proteases, they all have a 3-dimensional structure, okay? And that's kind of what this cartoon is showing here. You want to look at that picture there on the end, a complex of a protein molecule, okay? That's made up of polypeptide chains and amino acids, all right? So they have a proper 3-dimensional structure. And if they become unfolded somehow, heat shock proteins fold them back to where they're supposed to be. They help them get back to the conformation in which they're supposed to be. Okay. Later on in life, for whatever reason, sometimes those heat shock proteins, those molecular chaperones, they stop doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then that leads to proteins unfolding and then aggregating. So something happens with aging that causes those molecular chaperones to not do what they do as well. And then numerous disease states are caused by proteins misfolding and then aggregating in cells. So that's what you need to know. That's what I want you to know about those Lewy bodies. I'm going to get to the comments here. Let's see. Yep, Aquatechi's always ahead of the curve here. He says abnormal protein folding strikes again. So my graduate advisor, he's still working on that, but many scientists believe that that is the root cause of disease states like cancer and the ones I'm going to talk about tonight. Yeah. So we heard about Wendy Williams, Bruce Willis. We saw some brain structure and neuron structure. And well, let's read about the early warning signs of dementia. Once again, learning about Wendy Williams' condition got me interested in this, and also something personal. But in many of our families, we're all going to be confronted with this one way or the other, whether or not someone else develops it, or unfortunately, if one of us develops it. And I was thinking about this earlier as well with now this might be a little bit macabre and sobering, but with so many people, well, with more people now not having children, okay, you have to wonder what's going to happen to people. Well, for some people, who's going to be there to take care of them if they don't have children and their children are not going to? That's a concern for a lot of people. But a relative basically gave me the speech recently in a discussion that, parents eventually become children and children eventually become the parents. That's part of the circle of life, which for a lot of families is being completely broken now. All right. So early warning signs of dementia. Okay. I have this link and I have the AARP link. Everybody knows AARP, so I'm going to read this one. Okay. So in case anyone wants to read the Wendy Williams story, that is here. If anyone wants to read more about Lewy bodies, that is here. And this link I'm about to read is here. To the YouTube algorithm, I am not rendering medical advice. Wow, that's a long link. I can see why YouTube doesn't want this, why it might suspect this of spam. Okay. Let's see if it takes it. Yeah, it took it. All right. That link is this piece. It's not a long piece, but I'm going to go through this and then I'm going to wrap the stream up. And this one is Facebook appropriate. So I may share this on my general Facebook wall. Okay. 10 early warning signs of dementia you should never ignore, according to experts. Memory troubles are normal as you age, but certain symptoms point to serious cognitive decline. So when you think cognitive is things that you're consciously doing, whether it's movement or whether it's thinking or whether it's remembering or sensing. Those are cognition. You want to think things that I'm controlling and doing in real time. That's cognitive. Okay, this was written by Marissa Cohen and it was published on May 20th, 2021. All right, whether you're 35, 55, or 75, you've probably run into a neighbor at the dog park and completely blanked on her name, or while watching Jeopardy, you just couldn't seem to retrieve that factoid about Broadway musicals that is in the back of your brain somewhere. That's happened to me as well. I've had a thought or someone's name and I just couldn't bring it out. So that happens even when you're relatively young. Even though it might feel like your memory is getting hazy, it's probably nothing to be worried about. Starting in our 30s, the brain starts to shrink very slowly, very, very slowly. It's not even perceptible to most people, says Elise Cacapolo, PhD, an associate professor of neuropsychology at Columbia University Irving Medical Center. This can result in slower processing speed and slower retrieval. In other words, you still have the info stored in your head. It just takes a little longer to dig it out. For the estimated 6 million plus Americans who have dementia, however, the changes in memory and brain function go beyond what is considered normal age-related cognitive decline. For someone to be diagnosed with dementia, they have to have significant decline in more than one cognitive area, and those changes have to affect their daily living. Cacapolo says that typically means they are having memory problems as well as trouble in a second area such as language, visual/spatial function, or executive functioning. parentheses, the ability to multitask. So we YouTubers, we use executive function all the time because this requires you to multitask, especially when you're doing something live. All right. Are there different types of dementia? So Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause, affecting between 60 to 80% of those with dementia, but there are others. There are other types to be aware of. So Alzheimer's disease is considered a specific kind of dementia. Okay. Vascular dementia, when a series of strokes reduce the oxygen flow to the brain. Lewy body dementia, which is caused by a buildup of abnormal proteins in the brain. And then frontal temporal dementia, which affects the part of the brain responsible for personality and behavior. So this is the one that Wendy Williams has. When a person has symptoms of more than one type, it's called mixed dementia. In some cases, memory loss and confusion can be caused by factors that can be treated or even reversed, such as vitamin deficiencies, hypothyroidism, medication side effects, and depression, says Cacapolo. What are the early signs of dementia? All right. AB Media says, I appreciate this. He says, my late grandma had dementia. Yeah. Okay. What are the early signs of dementia? If you notice that you or a loved one is experiencing any of the following symptoms of dementia, check in with your doctor to ensure a proper diagnosis. Okay. So with that, I will say in modern times, we all don't live together anymore. A lot of children move away. So that part right there could be tricky because you need access to your parent's doctor. Okay. And if your parent has not been taking good care of themselves, and if your parent is secretive, and if your parent has not given you authorization to know their medical records, you might have a hard time getting the information that you need to help them. So it gets a little tricky, but especially if you live far away, if you live in another city, it may be hard to help them if you can't talk directly to the doctor. All right. Forgetting things. Okay, the early signs. Forgetting things you just learned. We all forget a random bit of trivia now and then, but with dementia, you have trouble retaining new information to a point where it impacts your life, says Cacapolo. Many friends and relatives notice this when a loved one starts to ask the same question over and over in the same conversation, or they are unable to remember the details of a TV show they just watched. It also becomes increasingly more difficult to learn new tasks, such as using a cell phone or a new computer program, even if the steps are clearly written down for them. All right. Problems managing money. This is a huge one. One of the first line of questions Cacapolo asks her patients is, are you still managing the household finances? Are you paying your bills on time? Have you paid any bills twice? Are you making errors when you're balancing your checkbook? People with dementia often have trouble with abstract thinking like math and are unable to follow the steps to do a task like paying a bill. This may also make poor judgments. They may also make poor judgments about spending money or even giving it away. Okay. Getting lost in familiar places. Memory loss and visual and spatial difficulties can lead to disorientation, causing people with dementia to get lost easily. Even when walking or driving to places they have been to hundreds of times. All right, we're almost done here, everybody. Confusion about time and day. When you eat breakfast, but then realize it's dinner time, or you can't remember the day of the week without looking at a calendar, That can be a sign of cognitive impairment. Capello says patients who have more advanced dementia may get up in the middle of the night and get dressed. It may also become increasingly difficult to know what season or even what year it is. All right. Visual spatial issues. Atrophy in the part of the brain that processes visual information can lead to difficulties with visual perception, causing falls, difficulty driving safely, and problems judging distances and colors. This is different from visual problems due to changes in the health of the eyes. So always be sure to check in with your ophthalmologist as well. Forgetting common words. In addition to forgetting names and being unable to retain new information, people with dementia may find themselves unable to come up with the words for a familiar object, like a watch or refrigerator. They may also stop in the middle of a sentence or not be able to carry on a conversation. Constantly losing things. When a person without dementia misplaces their keys or the remote control, they can typically retrace their steps or think of all the logical places that object might be. But for a person with dementia, it can be difficult to take those deductive steps, leading to frustration and frequently suspicion that the items were stolen. A lack of interest in reading. In cognitive evaluations, I always ask, are you reading as much as you always did? Says Capello. She points out that people who used to love reading books find they can't follow the story or remember what came in the previous pages. A lot of people will say they can only read short articles now. It's especially noticeable with people who are really avid readers, she says. Skipping social gatherings. When it becomes difficult to follow a conversation or remember the names of people you don't see every day, a person with dementia may start to withdraw from friends and avoid parties or other events involving large groups of people. Changes in personality. That's a big one. Changes in personality. People with dementia may find themselves getting more irritable, having a low tolerance for frustration, and crying more. Even men who never cried before in their life will cry, says Cacopolo. And sometimes it goes in the opposite direction. People who have difficult personalities or are very intense can sometimes become much more docile, almost sweeter, she adds. Okay. Um, who is most at risk for dementia? The number one risk factor for dementia is age, and it increases exponentially for each decade past age 60. Genetics also play a role. If you have a parent or sibling with dementia, you are somewhat more likely to develop it yourself. Dementia also disproportionately affects women and communities of color. According to the Alzheimer's Association, about 2/3 of all people with dementia are women. Older Black and Hispanic Americans are up to 2 times as likely to develop dementia as older white Americans. Now, I never knew that. That's interesting. Okay. All right. We are at the end here. There are also many modifiable risk factors that may affect different populations in different ways, says Rebecca Edelmayer, PhD, senior director for scientific engagement for the Alzheimer's Association. For instance, people with conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol are at higher risk because they put the brain in a more vulnerable state in which the pathology of dementia can take hold. Well, let me read that again. People with conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol are at higher risk because they put the brain in a more vulnerable state in which the pathology of dementia can take hold. Okay, so these things can compound. She also points out that Black and Hispanic communities have also been historically underrepresented in clinical trials for new therapies and encourages individuals from all communities to see if they are eligible for ongoing trials at Alzheimer's Association's trial match site. All right. See, as I promised, we're right at the end. The bottom line, making lifestyle changes, including getting regular exercise, eating a Mediterranean style diet, and maintaining strong social ties can lower your risk for cognitive decline as you age. But if you notice any of the signs above and it's significantly impacting your daily life, the best plan of action is to seek cognitive evaluation, says Kakapolo. Your local Alzheimer's Association chapter can help connect you to resources. There are many things that can cause memory loss. And if it's not dementia, let's fix it, she says. If it is dementia, let's find the most cutting edge, up-to-date treatments and see if you're eligible for clinical trials. And let's also get you the support you need to reduce symptoms and have a better quality of life. All right, that's that. So those are the signs and the symptoms of dementia. And for anyone seeing curious and unusual behaviors in a relative or a loved one, there you go. All right. So everyone, I just wanted to come in here and I had not done a science stream on Saturday. It's a busy time and I hadn't done a short recently. So I wanted to get something in, and this is something that's relevant for me right now. And when I heard about the Wendy Williams story, I said, okay, well, let me revisit that. So things seem to happen all at once. But yeah, Aquatechie and AB Media and T Riddler and Toya, I appreciate you all for stopping through. And for those of you who shared what you experienced in your family, I appreciate you sharing. So yeah, if you know someone who could benefit from this, please share this. I will be sharing it in my network. And so I'm going to wrap this up right here. Everyone, this is Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe if you're new. If you want to donate something to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. You can't do a super chat. You can't leave a super chat or super thanks over here because I don't have the AdSense. But also, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. Kenya Pierre, I've never seen you before. Thank you for tuning into this. I've never seen you before, but thank you for stopping by, and I hope you come back. The science and technology topics here, they vary depending upon what I'm thinking about that particular day and depending upon the guests that I have. So please come back. Please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I'm also a writer with 2 blogs and a book project on the way. The link to my newsletter is, well, it's here in the chat. It's right there in the chat. There is a 2-paragraph greeting there. And if you click that subscription button there at the bottom, it takes you there and you just enter in your email address and you're a part of my group. It's a way for me to write. I'm a writer. I do a lot of writing. And it's also a way to, share my content. I have a couple of channels and I have 2 blogs. So that's what I use it for. And I'm always trying to grow the list. I see my antenna thing there. When the antenna thing shows up, even though I have a hard connection, I'm afraid that I'm going to get choppy and robotic and I'm going to Borg. But yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, thank you to those who watched and thank you to those who are new. And hey, I'm going to wrap this up and look out for the next one. If you're watching on the playback, please let me know what you think in the comments section below, because this is something that's going to touch all of us, whether we catch it or whether or not someone else. I'm sorry, whether we develop it. It's not a disease like a contagion or like a virus or a bacteria that you catch from someone sneezing on you. It's something that you develop over time. So if one of us might develop it or someone we know might develop it. So there we are. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.